but it had that cartoony feel. It just made me feel like these boys are hauling ass and they need to get away before they get got. I don't know why I just said get got. Anyways, but I
because it makes a good sound clip.
That's right. Get got with "Speak No Evil" by Corbett. Right? Put that on your cover, Corbett. Get got.
Make indie podcast. Robert make indie podcast. Robert make indie podcast. Robert make indie podcast.
Welcome to the Comic Indie Podcast. I'm Ken Javier.
I'm Alex A.
And as always, I am Daniel. Alex, you brought us a great comic also to review today because we do two things here. We both have our bitch sessions, but we also have a great topic of a comic, and you brought to us Speak No Evil. Tell us about it.
Speak No Evil by Justin Corbett and George Tripsis. Actually got an email from Justin a while back for a review that I've been meaning to do for a while. And just now have we gotten around to it, so I do apologize for that, Justin. I guess to kick off some things here, I'd like to talk about some of the styles that he chose. I mean, I read through this and I was visually connected with it, and I felt like the writing was actually pretty good. The characters popped out, and I feel like there was a lot of information here that he explained really well.
So Alex, if we were to break this book down, from what I understood, and thank you for the recommendation, by the way. And Corbett, I'm not gonna stroke you too hard on this one, but I do enjoy it. But so the book is about two brothers who are kind of mischievous and kind of getting in their ways, and they stumble across something that obviously doesn't belong to them. It basically is a loot crate of cool science gear and gadgets that they know nothing about. Inadvertently open a portal. Is that correct to say?
That seems like it's a portal to another dimension, although they don't mention exactly, if this is a spirit world or if this is just another dimension in space. But by the looks of it, it looks like it's something evil. You don't want to be there for too long.
So I'd like to say more. They open up like Pandora's steampunk box, I guess, but doing all the Tesla cannons and wires.
Steampunk or diesel punk, the variation on a theme there.
See, I don't know the difference. What's a steam and what's a diesel?
That's a topic for a complete other episode. I actually thought, by the way, thank you for bringing this to our attention. It was a really good book, I gotta say. I mean, he has some major issues, but the fact is that he has a book about magic and weird technology and all this kind of other dimensions set around the 30s and 40s. That was a nice little twist there. Yeah, the art in there is very nice. I love the kids. They have such three-dimensional character to them. They're just, they're kids that if you met them in real life, all you'd want to do is just punch them until it stopped. But at the same time, when you're reading them, they are just so much fun to be all along for the ride about. They're such great adventurers and great kids that are realistic, and they push each other and get each other in trouble and don't realize they have got themselves in this giant mess of a story. And that's just like the main part, but it's not the main part. There's so many extra stories to this. It's fascinating.
So when you're talking about the kids or the brothers, so what age do you think they are? What, like maybe 17 and 12, or I mean they're not like in their 20s. These are like
you're talking like 8 and 12 maybe.
Right. Yeah. And they're actually kind of getting into some bad stuff. And without going into too many details, obviously in the beginning of the book they're taking something that doesn't belong to them, but it doesn't really seem like it phases them. One is kind of little bratty brother who gets a little scared, and the other one he's just real balls to the wall. Like I really don't give a what. And so, but yeah, definitely if they took what they took, I'd want to punch them a couple times too.
Well, not just that. I mean, the curse. They one finds a bottle under the seat and basically does, "I dare you to drink it. I know you're not gonna, but I dare you to drink it." The other one, out of pure bravado, grabs it, pulls the cork open, and throws it back. And kid gets his first taste of whiskey, and that's all sorts of bad. It keeps going from there. They really push each other, even though they have this brotherly camaraderie. It's fascinating. At least I hope that was whiskey.
Was that? Yeah, wasn't it moonshine
or something like that?
Who's got the hooch or something?
Hooch. What is hooch? Considers that
hooch is booze. Fruit? Hooch is booze. It's just an old term for booze.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be anything from moonshine to whiskey to rye to scotch to vodka to, would you like the list? I mean, suddenly I want a sidecar.
Well, I mean, whatever it is, I mean, these are kids that are getting themselves into mischievous things that older teenagers get into. They're taking a truck, they're drinking whiskey or hooch. They're trying to make I guess the riches on their own. It seems like they're trying to trying to make it on their own for sure.
And I don't think they were wearing seatbelts either, too.
So well, they didn't have those at the time.
All right, I'm just saying these kids are pretty hard.
Well, the one thing I'll give the characters and the characterization too, like Stranger Things, and the analogy here is, I guess, apt. You have kids here, and it's obvious, but it's not a kid's story. It's told from sort of the kid's point of view, but there is a lot of blood and violence in this. Lots of it.
So let's talk about the blood, and let's talk about the violence. I think where it actually, it first came to me, and actually forgot to mention, we actually read issues 1 and 2 of the book. So for me, I encounter, well, obviously there's a story before the kids that's pretty bloody and gory, and I think that's kind of where it talks about, possible magic or interdimension or summoning of things. But it just kind of, from that point, it kind of flashes forward to where the kids come involved. But yeah, very visceral, very, I don't know what to say, where you're cutting off a lot of limbs and a lot of blood is coming from those limbs. What would you call that?
Vicious. Visceral is also a good term. I mean, it is bloody. It is violent. It's interesting that the first 3 characters that you're exposed to is very obviously a stand-in for Tesla, a stand-in for Aleister Crowley, and the third one, I love to say, is a stand-in for like H.P. Lovecraft or the character from Atlantis, The Lost Empire from Disney.
But it does look like him. You're right.
But either way, you realize very quickly that while they may be stand-ins, they're part of the story, but not the center of the story. And it's just, they do really. And then you have the cults later on, and the people doing. Yeah, it's there for 2 issues. There's a lot going on, and in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I really liked about the story is just in one panel you're getting so much. You're getting a idea of who the characters are. You're getting an idea of the villains themselves and the crazy antics that they're up to. And by the end of the issue, you've already gone through somewhat of an episode, which I felt was pretty fun.
Oh yeah.
I mean, not to mention that the animation style that the artist used for a lot of these panels was also engaging.
And kind of speaking of engaging, and what I really enjoyed about these 2 issues that I read is, as Dan has alluded there in the beginning of the book, you're kind of seeing a story of 3 individuals and kind of what's going on with them, but then flash forward 10 years, but it doesn't feel forced or contrived. It's just like, okay, what next? But what I really like and what Corbett does is at the end of each book, he kind of gives you a little window into before all the stuff went down. So without, again, giving too much away, you're introduced to a world where, obviously they're doing some research or they're bringing something in that doesn't belong to this world in the 30s and 40s. But then, it gets closed away until these 2 mischievous boys open up that world again. And that's where we start.
Yeah, and this is the type of comic that you can see actually picking up and making some momentum in the real world. And the thing that amazes me the most is these are Kickstarters.
Really?
These guys came together and they're doing it all on their own. So this is work that you'd probably, I mean, if you went to an Image comic, you really couldn't tell the difference.
Now, I mean, compare this to like The Walking Dead, both in visuals and feel. This one's more funny than The Walking Dead is by a long shot. Comparing it to the viciousness and the story and the actual connection to the characters. Honestly, if these guys were to put out, say, 6 more books and went to Hollywood and say, hey, we got this idea, I wouldn't be surprised if they got themselves a Netflix show, honestly, based on these ideas. Now, okay, maybe not Netflix, they already have Stranger Things, but you get my meaning. These guys know what they're doing. I gotta say that.
So talking about knowing what we're doing, why don't we put some numbers to this book and take this book to school and give it some ratings? Dan, why don't you go first? Art-wise, what are you giving the book?
Okay, I gotta say, it's on par with a lot of books. I'm a little bit more of a harsh critic in a lot of regards. He did some really good work. As Alex has pointed out, his almost animation, almost rough style is very good and very apt for the book. So honestly, I'm gonna give it a solid 8. I know I'm sorry guys. I'm waiting for the really good stuff to get the 9s or 10s, but he does really good, solid work. Very good for the art.
So, all right, Alex, art. What do you give it?
Art-wise, I was really impressed. Like I said, it's Image quality. It's the kind of work you'd see on a mainstream publication. So I love the colors. I love everything they did with it. I'm going to give it an 8.
All right. And for me, hey, I kind of really dug the art too. I'm not going to say it's anime style or really cartoony style, but it fell into its own. I don't know what I could compare it to, but there's one panel where the boys are taken off in a vehicle, and that truck comes up on two wheels, and I know I'm not going to be a physics nerd about it and say, oh, that's not going to happen, but it had that cartoony feel. It just made me feel like these boys are hauling ass and they need to get away before they get got. I don't know why I just said get got. Anyways, but I
because it makes a good sound clip.
That's right. Get got with "Speak No Evil" by Corbett. Right? Put that on your cover, Corbett. Get got. All right. So,
get got.
That's it. That's it. So, triple eights from the Comic Indie crew on art. Story wise, Dan, let's come back around to you, sir.
Okay. Story wise, like I said, it was kind of engaging. Kind of interesting. Now, I've got some stuff to say when I get to the originality, but I'll say that for originality. The one thing I will give as a criticism, though, no offense, and for people who are, of a younger age, younger set, or don't sit home and watch Svengoolie movies on Saturday nights because they're boring, the one thing this thing lacks is that it lacks an actual 30s and 40s feel. It lacks a lot of the lingo, lacks a lot of the characterization, and there's a lot of modern language being used. And I really think that it could benefit from just a little bit of tweaking so that you really feel like you're seeing this great story. But, when somebody talks about a nickel nurser or, getting to the more of that lingo of that era, basically bringing a little jazz into this. I'd love to see this. I would adore to see this. But at the moment, what we got, good, solid story, good characterization. I'm going to give it an 8.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the humor aspect of everything. I guess it's one of the things for me that in any story or any movie, it's the one thing that kind of sparks up the story for me. So that's one of the things I can definitely give you guys props on. I did enjoy the way he didn't spend too much time on exposition. He went straight through the story, and you got to know the characters along the ride. So as far as story goes, you guys are doing great. Keep up the good work. I'm going to give y'all a 7.5 for that.
All right, and story for me, I'm going to go and give it an 8. And again, I had made the comment earlier, a lot of stuff really didn't seem contrived or forced. Throughout several, parts of the book, you're introduced to a whole myriad of characters, but it's just very interesting how they all get tied in. I'm not going to spoil it, but I will talk about the GOAT, right? You guys remember the GOAT, right? So here's one character. I'm not even saying it's a character, but one being that made an impact to where it comes out and it just looks crazy ridiculous and like, what is wrong with this GOAT, right? But they spend so much attention and time in the story that they're actually going to give you almost a flashback to other characters, of course, but you see the GOAT was not always that way. So I like those little elements of the story to where it's kind of like they draw you in with those things. Like, I want to know how the GOAT got messed up now. But that's obviously, a very small thing about the story, but definitely I enjoyed that part and just all these other pieces. We didn't even get to talk about was she a gypsy or was she a prostitute? But oh my goodness, she's got a chin, because apparently she can get that reminded me of a Mortal Kombat move or something where she got her face thrown into that thing, but she was able to stand up like she was okay. Yeah. Right? So if you want to see some tough ladies who are possibly prostitutes but not prostitutes, but maybe they're one of those I tricked you. That feels like goodness.
So you've been to a strip club at the Folsom Street Fair?
Look. I can't say. I just talk about public domain type stuff and whatever. So, but I like the how the characters are introduced. I liked how they're strung together, and I don't really feel that I'm overloaded with characters, and I really kind of want to see where they are going. And but definitely story wise, we're going to go with the 8 on that one. So spinning back around on the last category, originality. Dan, where are you at?
Okay. I know I was talking to Alex about this before the break, and I imagine he'll have some interesting words to say. But the one thing I'll give this about is that it's normally a story you get like this. There's a ton of stories out there with Tesla or with Lovecraft or with Aleister Crowley and weird dimension things, and what if their inventions really worked, and what if their inventions were such and such. There's hundreds of comics and books out there. Just type in the word Tesla fiction and go to town. But the way they use these kits That's the thing. And they brought these kids into this world, so they're learning about this just as much as we are. And there's interesting twists, interesting takes. I'm really kind of impressed. It's one of those things, even I kind of go, I shouldn't be impressed. But I am. So I'm going to give it a solid 8. Honestly, they did a great job. I got to say. Alex, please.
Yeah, I mean, I will have to say there are elements in this story that seem like other stories. So you get the magic, you get the portal to different dimensions, and you got some of that Ghostbusters type of equipment, and you have some of the steampunk style. But I mean, I guess all in all, it becomes something original, which is something that I do like. I mean, it has familiarity to other things, so it's not so lost, and it again introduces I guess a new take, a new spin on a story we've kind of seen, but not really. So I'm going to give it an 8.
All right. And I'm going to go and give it a 7. So, I liked it. I thought it was very original. As far as, all of the, hey, let's uncover these things. And I think, Dan, you make a good point with, we're learning it. Us the kids are learning it, too. And I like that take. It's just, I don't know. Just originality-wise, it's hard to write an original story, and I'm not saying 7 is a critical thing, but it's definitely one of those. Okay, we're running away from one thing, now we fall into another thing, and we didn't even get to talk about what came out of the dimension. Now, I'm kind of a Blizzard nerd, and I don't know if this guy's a Blizzard nerd too, but I swear that looks a little bit like a Zerg.
With a lot of legs there.
A Zerg with a lot of legs. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Zergs aren't, they weren't created by Blizzard or anything. But, if I were to say color-wise, yeah, maybe that's a Zerg. Coming out of a spawning pool. But yes, it definitely, I like those elements of the supernatural and what's going on. And, it's just like, this isn't normal that this beast or being is out here. And now it's unfolding the mystery of, well, now let's go follow this and let's go follow these. And we're going to run into some new allies. And so, again, I think it's hard to write an original story. But, with this particular story, I'm following it. And I'm looking for issue number 3.
So, can we say this has been certified gold?
This book is definitely certified.
Bing! With a grand average score of 7.83.
Uh-oh.
So, if we do our math correctly, this actually comes up a little bit higher than our book that we reviewed last time, Severed Souls by Jay Gillespie. Wonderful book series, by the way.
Lovely man. Great man.
Who had 7.67, who he previously unseated Prometheus by Ryan Little. So here we are, podcast 3, the Speak No Evil series by Corbett, 7.83.
Boom.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Number one, if this hopefully we continue in this, finding better and better books, and just see where we get that by the end of the year. Oh my God, we've seen some amazing books. If we see something that's less, we'll be shocked, but that's okay. You know what? All these guys are doing great work. And I think this guy, Speak No Evil crew is onto something really interesting. So let's see what we got.
Absolutely. Like, again, not to discredit Little or Gillespie, both amazing books, both amazing artists. I'm looking forward to issue number 4 for Souls. I'm looking forward to seeing the Kickstarter really move for Prometheus on that one too. And really, that's what Comic Indie is all about. It's about the love and moving forward for indie comics and to really broaden the horizons of comic fans that are out there. In a world of, Avengers and Justice League, sometimes I know, it gets a little oversaturated, and sometimes we want to see what else is new. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to give my money to DC and Marvel, but still, I want to give my money to the Gillespies, the Corbetts, and the Littles of the world too.
Because everyone deserves their shot at greatness, if nothing else.
It's all about the little man.
Alex, you want to do any plugs or shout-outs?
Shout out to my main homie, Brian J. I don't know who he is, but I just wanted to say it in that tone. No, not really.
Brian J. Is he in the public domain?
Nope.
So I don't know. I mean, we could. Dan?
So far, I just want to say that it's been really good. I don't have shout out specifically, except the fact that I was only 2 that I know are listening to this. So hi, Mom. But at the same time, honestly, I want to see some other books out there. I've got a couple leads I want to get into, and this is the slow time for a lot of books because it's Christmas season. But That doesn't mean there's not some great stuff out there. If you have great stuff out there and you want to contact us to put your stuff on the air, please do so via our Facebook group, which is Comics Indie, or you can reach us at, we do have a comicsindie.com, correct?
Comicsindie.com, yes.
My apologies. I lisped a little bit there.
That's the competing comic indie group called Comics Indie.
We've been going to the wrong site. But Comic Indie is the place. If you need to contact us and you want us to try your book out, see your stuff, or otherwise you want to give us suggestions, please contact us via our website or via Facebook. Until we get a Twitter, Instagram, or any other information, we'll let you know. But in the meantime, we'd love to hear from you.
All right. For Comic Indie, I'm Ken Javier.
This is Alex A.
And again, I'm Daniel.
And you've been listening to Comic Indie Podcast.
Comic Indie Podcast. Comic Indie